Still getting, hello. Still getting used to the distance of the mics. It's okay. Awesome. Hello, everybody. It's so good to see all your faces. Thank you so much for coming out. Like I said, my name is Daniel J. Perryman. I'm the artist in residence here at the residency by Marriott. And yeah, this is my showcase. I have a lot of guest artists, and I'm so excited to showcase what we did together. But first, a little bit about me. I'm a British-Canadian artist based in southern Alberta. I'm an actor by trade, and I graduated from the University of Lethbridge with a BFA in Dramatic Arts Performance, and I haven't looked back since. Over the last couple of years, I've been fortunate enough to diversify my skill set and try my hand at stage management, believe it or not. Shout out to stage managers out there. It takes quite a person to do that job. So, yeah, as well as producing, directing, and editing my own independent projects. Some of which were made with the support of TELUS Story Hive. And if you haven't heard of TELUS Story Hive, I strongly encourage you to check them out. They have great opportunities for creators. And I want to welcome the people on the live stream as well. I almost forgot about you. Thank you for being here. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I also love dancing. I never had any formal dance education, but I just love it. And I also love poetry and music. And I've been slowly integrating playwriting and writing in general into my artistic practice, which brings me to the residency. It's been the focus of my residency here. And yeah, I've been here for 2 months, working on my own plays and ideas, and my practice, like how I go about doing that and developing those plays and ideas. As well as collaborating with eight local writers and artists of various mediums, not just playwrights. And together we've really dived into the process of writing with someone, because it's typically such a solitary endeavor. And so this is something that I really wanted to dive into during my residency. And also accountability is great. Would recommend it. And yeah, if you know me, you likely know that I love mantras, and so my main kind of mantra for the last while has been this: people are greater than process, are greater than product. And I really do believe that. And so this residency was a superb opportunity to put that mantra into practice. For example, I gotta give a shout out to my guest artists because I actually didn't know the majority of them before we sat down to do our writing session. And so, as you can imagine, putting people first became really important. And in doing so, I believe it made the process way easier, but we'll get to hear from them as well. And in theory, it makes the product better, whatever that means. And so yeah, hopefully you'll see this mantra kind of at work throughout the evening, and maybe even actually experience it for yourselves. You may have noticed there's pamphlets all over the place, and there are QR codes in those. So please share, and for the folks online, our fantastic live stream operator, Brandon, will be sharing those QR codes and links when you need them, so do not fret. And yeah, these are key to some audience engagement, but don't worry, I know I'll guide you through every step of the way. I know when people hear that, sometimes cortisol levels kind of skyrocket, but I will guide you through every step of the way. And yeah, I'll take good care of you. People first, right? And if nothing else, maybe get another drink. Which is a great segue, because there is a featured drink tonight. It's called it's a local take on a crown float, which is one of my favorites. Has anybody heard of a crown float? Yeah, a little bit. Awesome? No? Okay, well, for those that don't know, basically it's Strongbow cider topped with Guinness, and then the Guinness floats because of the different densities. And so the team here at the Residence Inn, they've created a local take on it. So they collaborated with local distilleries and breweries, and so it's all local. beer and alcohol, and so feel free to try that. And yeah, gonna move on along into our land acknowledgement, but I have a bit of context to share first. So the land acknowledgement I'm going to read can be found on the Calgary Public Library website. If you want to learn more, be sure to check it out. And before I dive in, I would welcome everybody to scan that first QR code number 00. And while people are doing that, I'll kind of talk a bit about this. So it will open up a Google form wherein you can actually jot down some thoughts and reflections after hearing the land acknowledgement. I'm just going to grab some water. One second. And the purpose of this is twofold, Not only will this allow us to kind of actually engage with our land acknowledgement, but it will also give you some context as to what the rest of the evening might look like, because as you can see, there are quite a few QR codes. And I'll just say right now that there's no stress whatsoever with the QR codes and Google Forms. There's no test or grades or detention if you skip one. It's all good. In fact, they are completely anonymous, so we would never know. Awesome. So I'm going to read our land acknowledgement. With gratitude, mutual respect, and reciprocity, we acknowledge the ancestral home, culture, and oral teachings of the treaty-setting signatories, which includes the Siksika Nation, the Piikani Nation, the Kainai Nation, the Ithaka Stony Nakota Nation, consisting of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Good Stony Bands, and the people of the Tsuut'ina Nation. The city of Calgary, as it's colonially known, I believe the Blackfoot North of Calgary is Mohkinstsis, is also homeland to the historic Northwest Métis and to the Otipemisiwak Métis government, Métis Nation Battle River Territory, Nose Hill Métis District 5, and Elbow Métis District 6. Awesome. And so in the Google form, you'll kind of see that there's a space for you to jot down some thoughts, and yeah, I'm going to invite everybody to do that. And if you're not using the Google form, you're welcome to just sit and think and talk with your neighbors about it. And yeah, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what do you recall from the land acknowledgement, what stood out to you, and yeah, I'll let you all take a minute to do that. So hopefully you've had a chance to just write down some thoughts, some reflections on the line acknowledgement. And in the interest of time, we're just going to keep moving forward. Again, no stress. It's all good. Moving forward, I'm going to interview each artist, and then we'll read a short excerpt of what we created during our writing session together. At which point, you'll scan that artist's QR code if you haven't already, and then you'll have a few minutes to jot down some thoughts, talk with your neighbors, and then we'll move on to the next artist and repeat. But first, again, I'm all about context, and so I want to share an anecdote which really sums up for me the idea behind the QR codes and why we're using them this evening. And so it's this idea of 96%, and I talked about this yesterday at our poetry event yesterday. In high school, I auditioned for Midsummer Night's Dream. It was my first theatrical production, and I got a role, and it was awesome. And anyways, long story short, it's opening night, and my high school teacher, mentor, phenomenal woman, she gathered everybody around in a big circle, and what she said next just impacted me so deeply and stuck with me to this day, and will continue to stick with me. And so she basically said that you've done the work. She said this to everybody, you've done the work. You know, the audience actually only sees like 4% of the work, the performances. The other 96% is yours. You've done it in rehearsal, after school, memorizing lines, like you've done the work. And so then fast forward through high school, through my gap year, all throughout university, my first year after university doing professional shows, the pandemic, and then my first big show in Calgary. I just did my first Fringe tour last year. So fast forward through all of that, and then of course the residency, and I just feel like I'm at a place in my creative journey where I'm fascinated by what it means and looks like to open up that 96%. I don't know, it's kind of like, it's like the saying, learn the rules before you break them. And so I feel like I'm kind of, I have a fairly good understanding of theater and storytelling. And so now I'm like, what happens if you open up that 96% and try and share that with the public and an audience? And especially in this day and age where everything's online and you gotta be posting ridiculous amounts in order to stay relevant and keep up with the algorithm and all that. And so as a theater artist especially, I'm like, that's a lot of work and time and energy that isn't being utilized. And don't get me wrong, I know some of you are probably thinking, but Dan, that's where the magic happens. And believe me, I know, I'm not saying we should set up a camera and live stream rehearsals. Boundaries are good, and again, it's putting people first, so I don't think that would serve people and therefore the process. But I figured what better place to start than with writing, ground zero, I'm just gonna skip through some notes here 1 second. Yeah, because I feel like in theater it kind of compounds because we don't see the time and energy that goes into the script, and then we also don't see the time and energy that goes into bringing that script to its feet. And so I figured the best place to start this exploration is with the writing, so that's kind of what we're here to do this evening. I'm just hoping to offer you a perspective into the creative process that you might not typically be privy to. Can I take some more water? 1 second. Awesome. And before I dive into my segment first, again, I want to give some more specific context for the Google Forms. So the first question is typically, or should always be, what do you recall? Or what did you notice? And this is on purpose. So this style of feedback I was actually only introduced to it in my third collaborative writing session with Tanis. So hopefully we'll get to hear a bit more about where she learned it and how she uses it in her practice. But for now, it asks what you notice or what you recall. as opposed to what you like and dislike. Because as a writer, it's not always helpful. Because what you like and dislike, the person next to you might feel the opposite way, right? And so really what it's trying to get at is just what stood out to you. You know, what is the writing actually communicating? And then as a writer, that kind of feedback is really useful because it can help you, guide you as to what you maybe need to edit, or what you maybe need to make more clear. And so you're kind of being you're invited into that process with these Google Forms and just offering your insight. And again, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just listening to the scene and then offering some insight into what stood out to you. So, without further ado, I'm going to read my excerpt first. So this is an excerpt from a play I'm working on that's currently titled Windswept. It follows a journey that closely resembles my own experiences and perspective through the lens of a character called Iris, as they reflect from a surreal, barren, cloud-like prairie on their life before and after immigrating. Awesome. And if you want, you're welcome to scan the QR code now, so that once I finish reading the excerpt, you can input some thoughts or talk with your neighbors. I'll give everybody a second. All right. The wind builds gradually throughout the following. The long-awaited summer break is finally here. Seriously, what is with the winters here? I start in second gear, switch to third. What is the first gear even for? I've never used it and don't think I ever will. I compare the houses on our street as I roll on by. Who lives in all these and what do they do? Do they like biking? Did they use the first gear? I don't see many people biking. But before long, I see the snow-covered peaks of the mountains on the horizon, knowing I'm the first of my childhood friends to see them, while also knowing that I'm also the last of my newfound friends. But it doesn't matter, because I had a date with speed. 4, 5, 6. I push against the pedals beneath my feet until my quads burn, and just coast along the path, a block behind our new house. It's just a valley, as far as my eye can see, which is pretty far because I just went to the eye doctor person and my eyesight's 20/20, so it moves past so slowly compared to the grass and bushes before me. I look back over to the houses and wonder how much these ones cost, how much ours cost, what my parents did to bring us here, and what the valley looks like throughout the day. But it's time to focus. I brake occasionally, trying to lose as little speed as possible as I weave around the corner, and there it is. A straight shot to the bottom of the valley. On the one side, dirt, bushes, and the occasional tree climbing up higher and faster as I go. Before me is the path, like a thin, narrow racetrack with no room for error. On the other side, a cliff-like drop towards an undeveloped valley I try and catch glimpses of between vital, minuscule adjustments to my handlebars. Rows and rows of houses with their innards showing, plywood roofs, plastic-covered windows, and dirt roads amidst the beauty of shit. Iris falls into another memory as the wind comes to a halt. So you're welcome to take a moment, dive into that QR code, that Google form, write down some thoughts, talk with your neighbors. And remember, it's completely anonymous. And then the last question should just be about what it brings to mind for you, and if you haven't, if you're not there already, feel free to just skip to that part and just jot down some comments. Great. You're welcome to finish up those thoughts if you want, or just tune back in over here. So before we dive into our second segment here with Day, I just wanted to offer some more context. Again, you'll learn very quickly all about context. And so yeah, I came into these writing sessions with three kind of pillars. The first one was, again, what does it mean or look like to write with someone, which quickly devolved into also writing in relation to someone, because writing is such a solitary endeavor. So yeah, how do we honor that, while also finding opportunities to kind of work together on the script or the characters or the setting. The second pillar was writing with random prompts, which were sourced from the public. So thank you to everybody that submitted prompts. Basically, I had the guest artists pick 4 headings, and then we randomly generated from the public's suggestions under those headings, if that makes sense. And that's how we got our prompts. And then I also offered for each guest artist to veto one of the prompts if they wanted to. But again, we'll get into that. And then also the third pillar was just working within a time constraint. So leaning into limitations as an artist, because there is no shortage of limitations in the arts. And then I also wanted to respect people's time and energy. So over here, I have a pre-recorded interview with Day because she couldn't make it here in person. So I'm going to hit play. We'll make sure it's loud enough. So we will go on the pre-recorded video with Day.
Hello everyone, my name is Day Chase and I'm an emerging artist here in YYC, Alberta. I am a playwright, I'm an actor, and I also teach kids ages 7 to 18 theatrical skills. I love being an artist in this area. It's been a really wonderful experience for me. I was really excited to work with Dan here on this project. It was really exciting to work with another writing partner because you often come up with ideas that you wouldn't expect to come up with, especially when you're working with prompts that are pre-generated and given to you by who knows who. So we had some really interesting prompts given to us. My personal favorite was a quote, and it was, "Me takes the piss." So yeah, I wasn't sure how that one was gonna work out, but it actually ended up being one of our favorites to write on because I think it made us, it pushed us out of a box for sure. Something else that was interesting that came from writing with Dan together was we had a good time not going for a piece of finished writing. We weren't focused on making a product. We were just focused on writing and coming up with good ideas. And that is really important in a creative process, that you have the freedom to create your own ideas and come up with things on the fly. It was also nice to have someone to keep you accountable for writing and to continue doing it, to know when to let go of an idea and start on a new one. So that was wonderful. I had a really great time working with Dan. If you want to check out any of my other work here in the area, I just finished workshopping a play. It's going to be in the Ignite Festival over at the Pump House Theatre on June 6th. It is a theatre for young audiences play involving animation and also a performer interacting with animation. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you have kids, you can bring them over. Check it out. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. And a really quick note here. So we did also do an intro, outro at the beginning and end of our collaborative writing sessions. And those are also just on my YouTube channel, Daniel J. Perryman, if you wanted to check them out after. I think we're going to move on to our first scene here, so the scene with Day. So I'm going to invite Nikayla, I believe, up to the stage. Awesome. Yes, and we can move this however we need.
There we go, sound check. I think that sounds okay.
Yeah, do you need it a bit closer?
I think it should be good.
Dan knows what he's doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. So again, I'm going to invite everybody to scan that first QR code or QR code number 02. And hopefully the folks at home tuning in on the live stream also get that. And then, yeah, I'll cue us in and we'll get to go. And actually, while you're doing that, so the prompts we got were a relationship, student and mentor, a phrase, methinks you take the piss, a piece of artwork and the artist, The Dog by Francisco de Goya, and a song and the artist, I Put a Spell on You by Nina Simone. There's also a version, I think, originally by Screaming Jay Hawkins, which I did not know, but you could check that out if you wanted to. It was cool to learn that. And yeah.
Sounds good.
Awesome. I'm reading for the mentor, Nikayla is reading for the student. Don't take the piss.
You're the one asking for piss.
Seriously, I'm not messing with you.
Neither am I. Doesn't this conflict with like the student-mentor agreement?
Obviously, you can't tell anyone about this. Otherwise, I'll lose my job all the same, you dingus.
Hey, I wouldn't be throwing around names right now.
Okay, look. Are you going to help me or not?
Well, what's in it for me?
You mean other than your algebra homework? Mr. X isn't a number, it's a guy.
Student starts to leave.
No, I'm sorry, okay? I need this. You understand when you've got rent and bills and meds and just piss in the Ziploc, please.
Ziploc? No, they break so easy.
No, it won't.
It'll leak.
What do you want? A Safeway bag?
Look, if I'm doing this, it's gonna be my way or...
Right, of course. And what would that be exactly?
I don't know, it just has to be otherwise. It's just...
Look, kid, I don't have time for this.
Why can't you just use yours?
Because I went to a party yesterday and I might still have stuff in my system. Look, I promise you'll understand when you're older, okay?
You keep saying that, but you're not even that much older than me. I'm sorry, you're on your own. The student walks around the corner, screams. The mentor rushes around the corner. This dog almost attacked me. Help!
James?
My name's not James. Seriously, you want my piss, but don't even know why.
No, that's my dog, James. What are you? Hold up. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Awesome. Welcome to Talk with Your Neighbors. Yes. Welcome to Talk with Your Neighbors. Yes, hold on. Thank you. And yeah, I'll invite everybody to talk with your neighbors, input some stuff on the Google form. and I'll invite everybody to just maybe skip to the bottom where it just asks what that scene makes you think of, what comes to mind, if you haven't gotten there already. And you're welcome to finish up those thoughts, but I think I'm going to invite my next artist up to the stage, which is Jacqueline Austin. Thank you. Yes. Awesome. That looks like a pretty good setup.
Good.
Awesome. Yes, welcome to the stage, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I was just doing a short little interview here. So I think I had sent some prompts ahead of time, and I think if you just want to kind of introduce yourself and what it is you do, where your passions lie, and then we'll just take it from there.
Hello, so my name's Jacqueline, and I used to be a grade 5 teacher, but I quit that 3 years ago. That ship had sailed, and I took up book editing. So I'm like a full-time book editor, but I also do some ghostwriting in that and some blog writing. So I feel like artist is a stretch for me. It's like, but there's writing involved for sure. So I'm definitely passionate about words in general, all the word things, and this is a great opportunity. Something very outside the box for me and my experiences.
Awesome. And I think one of my next questions was just going to be any general reflections on the writing process, because we had 1 3-hour session and we had random prompts, which I'll actually just read off right now for context. So we got a phrase, which was between a rock and a hard place, a theme, which was fancy dress, a planet, which we got Venus, and an animal, which we got otter. Yeah, so any thoughts?
Yeah, it was so unique compared to what I would normally do. And I just love that you, as you said, you focus on the people and not the products. And even at the end of our session, I think I was still expecting you to say okay, so let's get serious, let's put this together and make a firm product, because I'm very trained as let's make this business but it was the opposite of that, and I so appreciate let's just see what comes out of the session together. So it's great to work with you.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise. And I think, even though we vetoed a planet, Venus, we did actually let that prompt breathe. So we did spend time writing on it. I was surprised with all the guest artists just how much we were able to write in 3 hours. Especially taking into account that we had never met before, so I was trying to do my due diligence and just making sure that you felt comfortable and comfortable enough to write, right? And try because writing and sharing and working collaboratively is always vulnerable, and so I just appreciated your willingness to go for it and try the things. So did you have any specific insights on the random prompts, the time limitations, or even just the working kind of in relation to one another versus with one another?
I loved how before the sessions, probably in a Google form, you asked us all how would you best work with one another, with someone else, and took all those things into account. It felt very safe. Prompts were just nothing I've ever tried before. And the time constrictions, Tanis and I were talking about this short time, it just flew by, which I didn't expect to do.
Right on. And yeah, for context, a few of those things. So, I think maybe Cayley and I think had like the longest writing segment where we just went for like 15 minutes or so. But typically it was like 5 minutes, 3 minutes. That's how long we would write for, and then we would do feedback and talk. And yeah, it was still shocking how much we could actually create. And I had another thought based on what you were saying.
Yes.
I've forgotten it. So maybe we'll move on, and then if it comes back, I'll share it. But is there anything, before we dive into your scene, is there anything upcoming for you that you wanted to share?
I was trying to remember, because I did write an email or something, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, plug this, but now I forget what I said.
You did some
What?
editing. It was an editing thing.
Was it true?
I swear, in that moment it was true. It could possibly be one of my author clients, Tara Hodgson, just published her young adults, her YA fiction novel, so it might have been that.
Yes.
It's called Chasing Through Time if you're like a YA fan.
Nice.
Might have been that. Sorry.
No, that's all good. That's awesome. And I remembered my thought. It was about the community agreements. So again, people first. Before the writing sessions, I sent everybody a Google form. I fell in love with Google Forms. And it was just a community agreement. Typically in theater, it's just like, how do we want to work together? And even though I was working like one-on-one with these artists, and for such a short time, I really wanted to be mindful of just like, how do they work best? And so I'm glad to hear that that was beneficial. Great. I think we'll dive into your scene. So this one has quite a few characters. So I'm going to invite the voices up to stage. We might have to move our chairs and just take a second to move around so that we can share the mics. So, yes. Yeah. Awesome. Great. So, if we just want to say who we're reading, just for context again, and then you're welcome to take it away, Jacqueline, at that point. I will be reading stage directions and Mr. O.
I'll be reading Oliver.
I'll be reading Mrs. O.
And I'll be reading Ophelia.
How many times do I have to tell you, my little olive pit? Your father and I are just as proud of you as we are your brothers and sisters. I don't know where you get these notions from in the first place, but all these jackets and shirts and clothes aren't necessary, nor are they appropriate for dinner. You'll spill something and ruin them, or worse yet, your sister will, so just don't give her the opportunity.
But I feel good about myself when I'm wearing them, and I make them all myself. And I find all the materials too.
But that doesn't put any food on the table. Your father's up right now hunting and foraging for tomorrow's meal. Speaking of which, and Pop too.
Owen rolls his eyes.
But look at my latest piece.
You don't need it. We have fur, thick, waterproof fur.
Ophelia whispers as Oliver exits disheartened.
You know she'll never let you keep that jacket.
Owen rolls his eyes.
It's ridiculous on him.
Mrs. O, exasperated, shoots Ophelia a look. Transition to evening. Mrs. O is standing over the kitchen sink, full of dishes from dinner. Let me help you with this, darling. That was a wondrous meal, even if the kids were a bit rambunctious. What with Ollie's latest.
I'm worried about him.
I know he's different, but he'll figure it out sooner or later.
He doesn't play with his brothers and sisters. No romping, wrestling,
Or roughhousing.
or family rafts. Exactly. I've talked to his siblings time and again, but they don't listen.
Or it makes things worse, I imagine. So, everybody is welcome to scan that next QR code, number 03. And again, I'll just give folks a minute to talk with your neighbors and write down some thoughts from that scene. And just in the interest of time, if you haven't already, I invite you to just skip to the last question. What does it bring to mind? And you're welcome to wrap up those thoughts. And I'll just invite our next guest artist to the stage, which is Tanis.
Alright, sounds great. That's good? Okay.
Awesome. Great. Yes. Thank you so much for being here, Tanis.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad I'm here.
Yes. So similarly to Jacqueline, I'm just going to kind of open it up to you, just to introduce yourself and what it is you do and where your passion lies.
Oh boy. Not a good question at all. I'm a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing. So I myself am hard of hearing. I grew up hard of hearing, so my passion is working with those kids. But also writing. So I love writing. I've been writing since I was like 15. So poetry, creative fiction. I love fantasy and dragons and things like that. So that's where my heart lies.
Love it so much. Yeah, and so like I mentioned at the beginning, it wasn't until our session together that I kind of learned about this feedback style of not what you like, dislike, but what do you notice. And so would you be so kind as to share a bit about that, where you learned it, and maybe how you use it in your practice?
Yeah, oh, for sure. So I learned it from one of my mentors, Richard Harrison. So I've known Richard, oh my goodness, for ages now. I met him through doing a poetry class at Mount Royal when it was still a college. and we stayed connected ever since. So what you notice is a reader response theory that we use in our poetry workshops. And it's meant to kind of remove that judgment because, like you said, like and dislike is so subjective. So when you start to take that out and just looking at what someone notices, it's amazing because people will notice the same things, and that's where the true poetry or the language that sticks. Yeah.
And that's very fitting. It's Poetry Month, so I love that tie-in. That's awesome. Any kind of insights or broad reflections on kind of our time together? Again, we just had one 3-hour session together, and I was. I'll give context. So the prompts that we got were a relationship, mother-son, a zodiac sign, Aquarius, a color, hazel, and an emotion, disgust. So any brief reflections on our time together?
I think like Jacqueline said, it went by so fast. I think once we got into it, it was just so much fun. and the prompts, like those restrictions, were kind of great too, because then it kind of opened those creative doors where things we hadn't thought would go together were starting to go together. And I was like, oh, this is turning out really cool. Some of the free writes we did were just so much fun.
Yeah, and I definitely felt as though more time is always great, but it's very useful to set those deadlines, especially when working creatively, I find. It kind of left me wanting to do more, and so I think that's a good sign. And before we dive into your scene here, do you have any upcoming projects that you wanted to shout out really quick?
Nothing too crazy. I've just been working on a novel, so if that never gets finished, I'll let you guys know.
Look forward to it. Awesome. Great, and it's just us reading, so that is good. And yes, so we didn't really name our characters, so I think you're character A and I'm character B,
Okay, all right, here we go. The woodlands were sighing. Deep in the forest of the lodgepole pines, smoke rose from the wood stove of a rustic log cabin that lay beyond mortal eyes.
I sit on the porch, enchanted as ever by the fickle lodgepole pines, shifting and dancing in the slight breeze.
It was a cabin that belonged to forgotten gods. Rainforest dew clung to leaves of the thick underbrush, and a spiderweb glistened in the morning sun.
Spiderwebs anxiously lying in wait for the serendipitous arrival of their next victim.
Inside, a woman sat with burnt umber hair and indigo eyes, working away, stitching together a tapestry.
I stare out and breathe in the pale pink, blood orange sky as the sun sets, and Aquarius flies above the trees and streams, seeking out a bite to eat.
An owl perched on a ledge nearby, fluffing his feathers as he watched a haughty youth stir his drink.
I toss this coin again and again, every toss as ephemeral and fleeting as the last. I can't help but wonder when he'll be back, no doubt disgusted by my betrayal, though it serves him right.
Blood orange liquid swirled before he sprinkled white like powder inside. It glowed luminous like dying suns.
And I mean, his jar of toenails of all places. Of course he thought I wouldn't look there. Now we can put this entire fiasco behind us if he just tells me what he was planning to use this coin for.
I don't know why you insist on staying here, the mother stabbed neatly into her work with a sharp needle. Because I like it, he replied curtly, taking a sip from his mug. Ugh, it reeks like mortality.
It was at this moment that Aquarius landed on the porch post with a mouse in grip, ready to snack. You're welcome to scan that next QR code number 04. And just write down some thoughts on that scene. Yeah, Dan's got a good idea.
Yeah.
So there's actually snacks in the corner there. If people want a snack, please help yourself. I completely forgot to shut that out. Again, I'm just going to invite folks to jump to that last question. What did that scene bring to mind? we wrap up those thoughts, I'm just going to dive into Mackenzie's segment. So Mackenzie did a pre-recorded interview. I wish I could make it louder. I'm not sure if I can though. So I'm just going to hit play. My apologies if you can't hear it super well. But for context, for Mackenzie's segment, we got the following prompts. A Song and the Artist, Autumn Tree by Milo Green, a non-geographical location, a pool, a piece of artwork and the artist, Starry Night by Van Gogh, and an object, a pair of wool socks. So I'm just going to hit play on his interview.
All right. Hello, everybody. I am sad and remiss that I am not here with you all today to see the wonderful work of our fellow artists, but suppose I'm glad that you can see me. My name is Mackenzie McDonald. My pronouns are he, him. I was one of the writers that Daniel brought along for this project. I am a performer, writer, and emerging director here in Mohkinstsis. And I love some things about me. I love fantasy, love genre work, and I adore the macabre, love some dark stuff. I do a lot of TYA work here in Alberta as well, going across schools and teaching kids how to be chaotic and creative, which is so very fulfilling, obviously. I wanted to share some of my experience working with Daniel. Some of the things that I went into this project with, one of the challenges that I had in mind that both Daniel and I were trying to work on was how to write in relation to somebody else, understanding what it is that motivates one person and how that can feed into your own motivation was one of the primary things that I wanted to learn about and focus on. And in learning about this, Daniel and I did several different writing sessions. And one of the things that I learned was it's quite useful earlier on when we're starting out. We found that as we were writing and listening to each other's work, Daniel was very dialogue heavy and he wrote some good speaking words, and I was more emphasizing world building and setting. And we decided to focus our efforts on those roles. Something that we did not do in session, but something that I thought about that stemmed from these sessions is, as I was saying earlier, it's really useful to have those roles set earlier on in stone, but we can be fluid with that. We can exchange roles. Daniel wants to go like, hey, I want to do setting, and I'll be like, okay, cool, I'll try out dialogue now. It's a great jumping off point to have those roles set in stone, but again, to be fluid and moving and malleable, it helps one learn and reach outside of their comfort zone. I also really, really enjoyed, I believe it was Tanis that brought this exercise to Daniel, and Daniel, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But they brought this exercise very similar to this acting exercise called convergence, where two actors will try and like go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and they'll try and say the same word, and they'll keep doing that over and over again until they eventually think about how the two words relate, and then they'll try and say something similar. This was adopted into a writing exercise where for 2 minutes we wrote, and then we read aloud each other's words, and then for about 3 to 4 minutes after that, we took inspiration from the others' writing, and we tried to combine the two. We did this once more, and then for our last 5-minute session, we did this in threes, and for the last session, we wrote for 5 minutes, and tried to enmesh together each other's ideas into one singular world, which was incredibly fulfilling, and I had a wonderful time doing. Those time constraints were very useful as well, starting out small and then increasing as we went. Very good. I might be going over, so I will cut it short there. Please feel free to, if you want to see me, check out Seniors Acting Lab, their rendition of a play Mud Pie, going on from June 5th to 9th at Vertigo Studio Theatre. And if you also want to check out Full Circle Theatre's Riverona, going on from June 26th to July 14th, please feel free. They'll be pretty fun shows, and I hope that you all have a wonderful and restful night. And thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, Marriott Inn. Thank you again, Daniel. And thank you to the rest of the artists that made this all possible. I wish that I could be there with you all. So have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Mackenzie. And a quick correction there. You talked briefly about convergence theory, or like a convergence game. I think that's a game that Cayley and I played very briefly, and I was kind of inspired by it. And so in some of the later sessions, we kind of played with that and kind of made that into its own thing. We'll talk about that one later. Yeah, I'm going to invite the readers up for Mackenzie's scene. We will fit in our microphones and stuff. I think it's just the two of us, right? So, awesome. Does that work? Awesome. Cool. Great. So everybody just say who they're reading, and we can dive into it. I believe I am reading Mr. Ruthers.
I'm reading the stage directions.
I'm reading Sandra.
The earth begins to rumble. The rumbling sounds in Sandra's teeth, her bones, her soul. She could tell Mr. Ruthers was thinking the same thing.
The trees growing again.
They thought.
There's still no way of telling whose home it will devour next.
He thought before stammering.
Pack your things.
Sandra sweeps the desk. Photos, studies, tomes, all in her bag without a second thought as paintings fall from the walls and books from their shelves. Mr. Ruthers stands still, idling again. Sandra shouts,
Get your things and head into the backyard already.
but Mr. Ruthers has seen this happen too many times. Too many homes, too many...
Maybe it will take our neighbors instead.
She thought selfishly as the floor beneath them cracked and groaned. Sandra screams after Mr. Ruthers.
Follow me.
He hesitates at the door before closing it behind him. The door falls away as he goes to turn. In awe of the sheer power before him, Mr. Ruthers stalls, frozen. Sandra screams, "Move!" But he doesn't. Sandra dies, pushing Mr. Ruthers out of the way of a grotesque rock-like branch emerging from the floorboards. They quickly scurry to the backyard where Sandra pulls Mr. Ruthers to his feet. They watch the office crumble, consumed by the earth, by that thing, before their very own eyes. Mr. Ruthers strained.
I think you broke a rib.
You're lucky that's all that was broken.
Sandra replies.
What were you waiting for?
Feel free to scan that QR code number 5 and jot down some thoughts. If you haven't already, again, I'll just invite you to jump to that last question. What does it make you think of? and you're welcome to finish up those thoughts. And I'd like to invite our next artist to the stage, Cayley. Hello. Awesome. So again, I'll just kind of open it up to you, just to introduce yourself, what it is you do, and where you're showing your arts.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I am a playwright and director and general theater artist in Calgary. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I like genre. I like to create art that makes people laugh and makes people comfortable, and it can have deeper meanings kind of hidden within that. I'm very interested in like classical story structures and then turning those on their heads or diving deeper into why those are compelling. Yeah.
Nice. And you have your own company and collecting, is that right?
Yes, yeah. I have a company with my friend Sam. It's called Baker Miller Pink Art. Follow us on Instagram. We do lots of fun things. We do memes on Instagram, but we also make theater shows. And we are doing a meetup on April 30th at the Bank and Barron to talk about any theater you've seen in the last month. We do it every month. It's called Rose-Colored Glasses, because we want to try and discuss theater with a positive lens, not just complain about the things we didn't like.
Absolutely, I love it. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, for context, so the prompts that we got were a song and the artist, What If God Was One of Us by Joan Osborne, a historical figure, Henry VIII, a genre, mystery, and a geographical location, Mariana's Trench. And yeah, next part I think is just general thoughts and reflections on our time together. Again, we had 1 3-hour session together. Yeah. What did you think? What were your thoughts?
I thought it was really fun. It was nice to be able to write with no like pressure of having to finish anything or feel like it was like a final product. It felt like writing class where you get prompts and exercises. It's just a fun time. And it was lovely to work with you.
And yeah, like in our session, we played a really brief game of Convergence. It took a while because I'm very slow at connecting words, but yeah, so that was fun. Yeah, and like so some of the time limitations and the prompts. Did you have any other thoughts on those like 3 pillars? And it's okay, we can just move on.
I think something that resonated with me that was nice to like learn from the session is it was cool to see how you and I like differ in our process, and how we talked about how you're very careful about the phrasing. You write slower, and my brain goes too fast, and I spell things wrong all the time, no grammar at all. And then we were able to work together and come up with a cool finished product at the end, which is very neat.
Yeah, and then yeah, for additional context, so the scene that we're going to read was not actually the one that we spent the most time on during our time together. We kind of developed a whole entire different story, but when I was kind of curating which scenes to read, this one just stood out to me, and it was, Cayley kind of just threw it together in our first like 10-minute writing segment, and I was just like, I thought it was great, so to share it. And yeah, I think it's just us. So I'm reading Stage Directions and Anne.
And I'm reading Catherine.
Awesome. In the Tower of London, Catherine Howard paces, angry. The ghost of Anne Boleyn appears. You too, huh?
Where did you come from?
Surprise, bitch.
This cannot be happening. I am not going to go like this. Not like you, and definitely not while being haunted by you spoiled little brat.
I prefer ambitious to spoiled. Besides, it's not my fault you're here. It's his pompous ass.
You shouldn't talk about him like that.
Why? What's he gonna do? Kill me? Oops. Too late.
What's it like?
It's dark and cold. It's like being at the deepest point of the ocean. There's so much pressure pushing down on you, it crushes you. The freezing of your limbs doesn't last long because when you implode, that's it, and you don't feel anything anymore.
So I won't feel angry anymore?
Oh no, that sticks around. Why do you think I'm still here haunting you? I could be off on a beach in the Maldives, but no. I had to stick around and see what happened.
Who does he think he is? He has so many affairs with so many women on the side, and I have one side fling with someone who actually makes me feel like a human rather than a vessel for an heir. Does he think he's a god or something, that rules don't apply?
What if he is God?
No, he isn't, right?
No, of course he isn't God. But then again, I don't think there is a God.
It's pretty sacrilegious.
Like I care. If God cared, if I talked shit about him, he would have done something by now. It's been 8 years. I think he's just out there walking around, just like anybody else. Maybe you were God. Ever think of that?
If I was God, I wouldn't be sitting here waiting to die.
What would you be doing? Awesome, and I'll invite everybody to scan that QR code number 6. And feel free to jot down some thoughts. While you're doing that, I will be right back. Just in the interest of time, I'll allow you to skip to that last question. What did it bring to mind for you? You're welcome to finish up those thoughts, but I think in the meantime, we're going to invite our next guest artist to the stage, Nikayla. Yes. Nice. Awesome. Hello. Thanks so much for being here. And yeah, I'll just kind of open it up to you. Who are you? What do you do? Where does your passion lie?
Yeah, I like to joke I'm a teacher by day and I'm a writer by night. So I'm currently an elementary school teacher and hope to move up to being a high school English teacher again. And yeah, I'm involved in lots of just writing projects on the side, and it's a little bit of a side job, a little bit of a side hobby, so I have the lucky privilege to be able to balance those two things.
Awesome. And yeah, so for context for our session, we actually had two 3-hour sessions together. And the prompts that we got were a planet, Pluto, an injury, torn ACL, a song and the artist, Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, and a chemical element, copper. And so yeah, that's some context. But any broad reflections on our time together, on the process?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool that we had time to develop this over the course of 2 sessions. So I think we spent the majority of the first session really just taking a lot of time to go in every direction. We initially paired the writing prompts together and experimented with how those worked, and then cross-referenced and tried different ones again. So I think for the first, 2 hours, it was really just lots of mind mapping and exploring different ideas. I really liked how we did the different timings of writings. We tried, I think, anything from 1 minute all the way up to 5 minutes. We kept it pretty short. And yeah, we had a lot of really diverse material at first, and then we were able to hone it in using the things that we noticed. So we take notes on things that we noticed, and then we have to incorporate that into our writings. So slowly we were kind of able to converge our ideas together.
Yeah, and yeah, especially by the second session, yeah, I think we were spending more time kind of converging our ideas, and then I think we also had a unique thing happen where we were kind of like writing different parts of the same story. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so we ended up writing, if you listen to the live stream, you might have heard this already, but we ended up doing, 3 minutes or 5 minutes writing by ourselves, and then when we got together and shared what we had written, we found that they meshed really nicely into a timeline where something that he wrote is something that happened first, and then something that I wrote just so happened to line up to come immediately after it, or vice versa. So we had a lot of really cool kind of timeline lineups that ended up creating a nice product.
Yeah, and to the point where we kind of like tried it again, and just kind of, so like this is a kind of a short snippet of this scene, which I thought was really interesting, and yeah, like kind of where they lined up, it was the connective tissue was either like spot on or it was like missing, but that was okay because then we just took time to like just dive into that specific part. So yeah. And before we dive into your scene here, do you have any kind of upcoming projects that you wanted to shout out real quick?
Yeah, so I'm with a group, we're called Lean Into Love, and we are currently in the process of recording, and we're going to be releasing a 13-episode podcast audio drama. It's a sci-fi audio drama, because I love my sci-fi, and it has elements of horror, elements of space adventure, and it follows just a group of young spacefarers who are following the footsteps after the mysterious disappearance of an older space crew. And yeah, we're hoping to release the first episode in June 2024 coming up here. So if you're interested, it's called the Stargazer Initiative.
Love it. Awesome. I'm going to invite the writers to come up and push these chairs back and just finagle for a second. Yeah, so we're going to have to share microphones, I think. I'll share with you if that works. Awesome. And we'll just read our characters first, and then I'll kick us off. So I'm reading X and stage directions.
I'm reading D. I'm reading for B.
I'm reading for Captain.
And I'm reading C.
Awesome. I feel the vibration of their ship connecting with the outpost, my outpost. I hear their voices vibrate through all the layers of their ship, softly touching my surface. I remember these frequencies. I begin recalling the version of their sentient being from before.
Gear's ready to go, sir.
Good work, team. Okay, B, C. Get suited up. Be ready to get your hands dirty in 5. D, commence a deep scan of the base here. How deep do the mining tunnels go? Is the drill still down there, or is it in neutral? Give us the details.
You too, sir?
Somebody's got to stay on board, mate.
And that just so happens to be you.
Me? What?
You, sir.
That's right. Now, step 2.
Commencing scan, sir. Give me 5.
Captain, do I really want to go with B again? Last time.
All right, depressurize the hatch. We're ready.
Ready what?
Sir, we're fucking ready.
You're 1 infraction away from skipping dinner, B.
Depressurizing the hatch.
There's a loud release of air. I feel the muffled vibrations of their engines pumping frantically beyond that shock of air. Inefficient, idiosyncratic, and yet the same as before. And yeah, I'll invite everybody to scan QR code number 7. And yeah, offer some feedback and comments. We'll just invite folks to jump to that last question. What does it make you think of if you haven't gotten there already? Awesome. And I'm just going to move on to Madeline's section. So Madeline is our next artist. She can be here this evening, but we do have another pre-recorded interview. So I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to keep moving.
Hello, my name is Madeline Hunter-Smith. I'm a performer and an award-winning playwright in Mackenzie, Calgary. That is my cat, Cicero. I am so excited to chat with you today a little bit about what Daniel and I did during our AIRI writing session. But first, a little bit more about me. I am a writer who is primarily focused on horror. I'm a genre-specific writer, and my genre of interest is horror. I think horror is very versatile. I think even the most mundane things can be scary, and in fact they often are. So I'm very focused on existentialism, magic realism, that will come back later, and the spooky, scary suspense kind of genres. For our writing session, Daniel and I, we had 3 prompts. I chose one, genre, because I think it's a great place to start when you're writing. I think it provides a great groundwork to build off of if you can kind of gauge the general tone of the project you're working on. The second was a chemical element, which was intimidating to me because I don't do chemistry. I don't understand it. Atoms are so beyond my comprehension. The third prompt that we ended up receiving was a day of the week. Our day of the week was Sunday. So we had a genre that ended up being randomly generated, and we got magic realism, which I was thrilled about. The chemical element that we ended up receiving was potassium, and I remember seeing that and thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know a single thing about potassium. I know bananas. That's about the extent of my knowledge there. So I was very intimidated by potassium. And the day of the week that we got was Sunday, which I thought had a lot of potential artistically. One of my mentors from my writing career, David Van Bell, excellent writer. Please read his work if you haven't. He told me that the best way to start a project, the best way to get any ball rolling, is to start with randomness. So Daniel and I started by writing a stream of consciousness style. We each wrote our own 2 pieces. We examined the relationships between some of our different prompts. We would start with a 1 minute, then go to 2 minute stream of consciousness, 3, 4. I think we ended up getting to a 5 minute. The pieces were so varied and so different, but the important thing that we did, which I think really ties into this idea of collaborating with another writer, is we took the pieces that we remembered from the others. We would read each other our pieces, and we would take the pieces that we remembered from the other person's project, and we would try to incorporate that into our next stream of consciousness. So I think using these limitations and using these rules actually wasn't limiting at all. I think towards the end of our time, when we started to go backwards from a larger time period of stream of consciousness and shrink it back down, we wanted something, a final product, so to speak, that was distilled and refined, I guess, in a way, enough that demonstrated how far we had come with that initial work and those initial prompts. Overall, I thought this project was a really unique and cool challenge because you're taking an activity that is generally solitary and making it collaborative, using rules that don't feel limiting. If you're thinking about writing collaboratively at all, or maybe on the fence about what that means for you as a writer, just try it. It's super rewarding. Start with randomness, give yourself rules and limits, and go for it. You'll come up with something really cool.
So to the other artists, can use the link. Anyway, and then I have a quick little note here for after her interview. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for Vertigo Theater's mystery radio story, The Brides. It's coming out this summer wherever you get your podcasts, and Madeline is a key creative on that project. And yeah, I'm going to invite the guest speakers for this scene up to the stage, and we'll just dive in. Awesome. And yeah, I touched on it briefly, but I'll just kind of reiterate. So the chemical element Madeline got, that we got, was potassium. An artistic medium we got was glass, so a glazier, I believe they're called, a genre, we got magical realism, and a day of the week, we got Sunday. And then just who we're reading. So I'm reading Stage Directions and S.
I'm reading The Younger Child.
I'm reading The Older Child.
Awesome. The chlorine smell seemed to bake on their skin in the hot summer sun. The older child laughed and wiped his sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand.
If you eat your own sweat, you won't dehydrate.
He said, blue eyes shimmering.
Our bodies need salt to live.
The younger child wiped his forehead and licked the sweat from the back of his hand. It tasted glassy, bright, like polished tin. The older child pushes the younger child into the pool and laughs. Neither of them knew it, but this would be the last memory they truly had together, their bloody bond not yet tarnished by salt. You remember me?
Hell yeah. I mean, partly, I guess. Like, my brother and I were playing in the backyard. Sun-kissed, sweat dripping from our foreheads as we jumped in the pool, or more accurately, pushed each other.
What was he like?
You know what? Never mind. I don't really...
I've never had a brother.
It's both a gift and a curse. Anyway, T-minus 10 minutes till impact.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's shorter. Great. And so yeah, I'll invite you to scan that QR code number 8. And yeah, jot down some thoughts. What did you notice? Welcome to just kind of skip to that last question. what did it bring to mind? And I should have done this earlier, but I just want to say thank you so much. It's like so interesting just kind of watching everybody, like watching your brains work while you're like inputting what you're noticing and everything. I just want to say thank you for going on this ride with me and doing this with me. I really appreciate it. So, yeah. So without further ado, we'll kind of move on to our next segment here. It's with Katie, who again couldn't make it, but we have a pre-recorded thing, and hopefully we're gonna hear it better because I'm gonna do the thing with the mic. So.
Hi, my name is Katie Yoner, and this is a cat. I am a writer, an actor, a stand-up comic, and an improviser, and I'm based in Edmonton and Calgary. It was such a pleasure to get to work with Daniel for his residency, and I had so much fun. The biggest takeaways for me were that I've never gotten to experience just sitting down and writing with a person. I've done a lot of devised work and like on my feet creation and improvisation to create a story, but I haven't done a lot of like just sitting with a writer and putting something together. So it was really cool to experience different structures. Something that I really liked was we did this thing where one of us would have like an idea for where something could go that we were talking about. So we would actually pitch it to the other person and have them write it, and vice versa, so that ideas and the things you're writing never really felt like they were just one of ours. It felt like we were always like kind of mixed into everything, and so that was really cool. The other thing that was really great was experiencing writing with like very strict time constraints, because I tend to write in luxury and I leave a lot of time to panic. So it was great to just get away from that and have like a deadline and like time restriction. It just kind of forces you to say, whatever, like whatever it is, it's going to be great. So that was really, really fun. Yeah, I think that's everything I have to say. But otherwise, I perform stand-up in Calgary and in Edmonton pretty regularly. So you can keep an eye out. You can follow me on Instagram, Katie_Yoner. That's Yoner. If you want any updates about that. And otherwise, I have a show called Rad Academy that's going to be coming through Calgary in the next year. It's a theater show, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Awesome. And I'll invite Nikayla back up to the stage to read this last scene of the evening. Awesome. And so for context, the prompts that Katie and I got were a color, pink, an illness, bile of the brain, a year, 1975, and an insect, wasp. And so we came up with the following scene. I'm going to be reading the roles of stage directions and Jeremy.
And I'm going to be reading Wasp Mom.
She is smiling even harder than before.
Listen, Doctor, I don't mean to be rude by any means, but we've been waiting days to meet with you. Jeremy has needs, and I figured you'd be able to help me help him meet his needs. Jeremy? Why don't you tell the doctor here what's wrong? Because he, like you, refuses to listen to me, so I'll just sit back. Listen, I don't care what you'd rather be doing right now. Speak. No, you're not getting out of this with that one. Okay, listen, I've had it up to here with this nonsense. I am this close to finding a fig of my fucking own and leaving you with your father. That's right, you think I don't have a limit? Well, I do. Between you and this Dr. N, I'm just about done. So either tell him what I've tried to do or like at least pretend you're listening to me, because no one ever acts like I'm saying anything. And I know I am because I hear myself talking all the time and I have stuff to say. Oh, thank God. Thank you. Please, talk to him. Oh no. Oh God, Jeremy, sting! Jeremy, use your stinger for God's sake, this is the one time.
The entomologist has pinned Jeremy to a little board. The wasp mom is, for the first time, speechless. Awesome. So yes, feel free to scan QR code number 9, I believe, and jot down some thoughts. So, again, just in the interest of time, because we're coming up on 9 p.m., I'll invite you to just jump to that last question. What is it going to be for you? To finish that up. And yeah, that kind of concludes our evening. The last thing, there is a 10th QR code, which we can throw up on the live stream at any point. And if you're so inclined, you're welcome to scan that. And it's got a bunch of questions just about this. And so I'd love your feedback on just this event. It's kind of been an experiment. And so that would be super helpful for me if you have the time and energy. But again, I'm not going to know if you don't do that. So no worries. And then I also just wanted to give a quick shout out to my lovely live stream operator, Brandon, and also Katie and my colleague, Brand. Yes, round of applause. Thank you so much. And I'd like to invite Katie to the stage if you want to come up really quick. So Brendan and Katie, they work at OFF, the Okotoks Film Festival. Hello, Katie.
Hello. Oh, thank you. Now I'm tall enough for it.
And yeah, I've had the pleasure of taking part in various OFF events, and I'm so grateful that you two were able to come down and help facilitate the live stream. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak about what it is you do and your passion. So
yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Now, to just fill up everybody's June even more, because I noticed everybody was shouting out events that are happening in June. My film festival, the Okotoks Film Festival, is June 5th to 9th. It's an international 5-day film festival with films from all over the world, all different genres. Basically, if there's anything you like in a movie, you'll probably find it at the cinema. And we also run a few live events, which is why Brendan has all this tech and able to help Daniel with this, like our 24-hour filmmaking challenge, which is in October, where you have to basically do a lot of what you've been doing with this whole project. So congratulations on this project. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, round of applause for David. And yeah, that kind of concludes the evening, and I just wanted to say a big thank you to Colleen and Residence Inn. It doesn't look like anything broke, it's okay. And yeah, big thank you to the team here at Residence Inn. I felt so welcomed, and yeah, this opportunity is just being so great for my practice. I can't even really put it into words right now. So thank you so much. And I want to give a quick shout out to my lovely partner for always supporting me, Shelby, who I believe is tuning in on the live stream. Love her so much. And I also want to shout out my parents who are in the corner over there, the Perrymans. So thank you. And of course, yes, round of applause for and keep the round of applause going for yourselves. Thank you so much for tuning in, be it on the live stream and just being here in person, and my guest artists. Thank you so much. We're going to let you have your evening. And yeah, thank you. Yes, Colleen.
Hi everyone. Just wanted to say a big thank you to Daniel for, we were so happy to have him here for our residence program. Pleased that he enjoyed the time and seemed like it was very beneficial. He did a lot of creativity. He showcased it super well tonight, so thanks so much.
Awesome. Enjoy your evening. Take some snacks if you need, and make a little talk if you can.